Simagic sent us their gear for free, and I still have complaints. Let's get into it. Greetings Romy, you're watching WromWrom, the channel sharing the joy of sim racing. My name is Serta and I will be your host for this video. Today starts a whole series of videos about Simagic hardware, as Simagic were so kind as to send us a lot of their products for review for free. First of them is the Simagic Alpha Evo Sport 9Nm wheelbase. There is a lot to like here, but it has one big issue, and I'll break down exactly why by the end. The rest of the series will come at later dates, so you may want to subscribe to not miss any of our reviews. This DD wheelbase is a small one at 28 centimeters and just over 6 kilos in weight. It's aluminium built and it hooks up to your PC like you'd expect via USB. Setup is close to painless and the connectors on this thing are honestly wild, but that one issue I mentioned, it's the force feedback, and I'll get to it. It has holes at the bottom as well as at the sides, so you can set it up on your rig any way you want. If you want it front mounted, you will have to buy extra brackets. Simagic sells exactly for that use at about 50 USD. I had a small issue with it on my SimLab rig. I had to set up the base so far forward that I then had to change the whole geometry of my sitting arrangements. Not a big ordeal, but it's interesting to see how the structure of the holes in the base can lead to some big-ish changes, which is why I prefer it when companies have rails instead of holes like the Asetek bases, but these come with other issues. This is a thing, especially if you change bases often, which I realize is something most of you will not do. All in all, the base is easy to set up with all the tools and bolts offered. I didn't need more than about half an hour to bolt it to the rig, start the Simagic software, do a firmware update which was extraordinarily easy with zero issues, and start testing it. About the easiest setup I've had in a long time. The base is also built so you can add the Magic Dash 4 display, which we'll talk about in a later video that I suppose will be linked up there or something. While we're looking at the front of the base, you'll notice the color LED ring. You can set this up in the software to mean whatever you want, or most whatever you want. It's a nice detail if you like these kind of things. I don't look at the wheel or the base while I'm racing, so it's not helpful for me. Now turn the base around and you'll find tons of connectors. Simagic really went wild of this one. CAN connector, RJ45, you can use the wheel as a USB hub for a bunch of peripherals, which helps reduce the stress of bad cable management. Like mine. But you try testing hardware regularly and keep good cable management. I dare you. The software itself is easy to understand and offers standard settings for, as far as I could see, every sim out there and some other racing and driving games. You can tweak those settings to fit more your style of driving or your force feedback feel, which is something I ended up using thoroughly. More on that in a second. Unluckily, there seems to be no way to share those settings online or download other people's public settings like Simucube lets you do, which is a pity. And strangely, I could not maximize the software window to fit my wide screen. It's seemingly fixed to a specific size, can be minimized but not maximized. On the other hand, all the information you need fits in the window, so this is a detail and no biggie. I want to commend Simagic on a very detailed user guide that left no questions open for us and may come very handy for you just in that one moment you need a specific detail. Adding a wheel to the base is extremely easy and quick, but you have to take care that the wheel snaps in, as is the case with all these ball bearing kind of quick releases. Wheels get recognized fast and I had no issues even changing wheels in the middle of a test session. Once added to the base, they don't budge as the QR keeps them steady. Before I get into the force feedback, quick ask. Help us get to the magic number of 20,000 subscribers. If you've made it this far, you clearly want to see more from us, so hit that subscribe button now and come back for the rest. Alright, the force feedback. It's not to my liking. Not only do the presets not really work well with the Sims, so I had to change them after going deep into a search rabbit hole through the internet and tweaking them bit by bit. Even after I had fine-tuned the presets to my liking, there were still some artifacts in the force feedback. From the context of where and how they were happening, I think they were meant to be information about the surface of the track. Also, I got almost no information about what the tires were doing or how they felt. Part of it is of course due to the 9 Nm of the base, which doesn't leave a lot of room for information, but I think the engineers at Simagic need to go back to their compilers and check the firmware of the base to get rid of the artifacts and fine-tune the field. There is the seed of good force feedback here, it's just lacking some information and overproducing other information. I hope a future update will change that, as it's been done for other companies. And yes, I realize force feedback feeling is extremely subjective. And let me know in the comments if you'd like to see my settings for Automobilista 2 and Assetto Corsa Competizione, where I tested the base the longest. At $400 the base puts itself in the same price range as similar wheelbases from Moza, PXN or Fanatec, or even the Asetek Initium base. Of those, we've tested the Moza and the PXN to a deeper extent, and while we consider the Alpha Evo Sport better than Moza's, the latest firmware updates from PXN made the force feedback signals better than when we first tested it, and therefore better than Simagic's. That is not to say Simagic won't do the same in a future update, but right now, at this exact moment in time, PXN's force feedback is more to my liking for sure. Where does that leave us? The Simagic Alpha Evo Sport 9 Nm is a versatile DD wheelbase that can be used in many situations. It's easy to set up and to use and has many good ideas built in, like the enormous amount of interfaces at the back or the fitting for the dash. But the firmware isn't ripe enough yet to let the wheel fulfill its potentials, with force feedback that's not mature yet. I'll expect it'll get there in time, but that time isn't right now. That's the Alpha Evo Sport. If this saved you from buying blind, a like costs you nothing and tells YouTube to show this to the next Romy who needs it. And if you want to support the channel directly, we've got a Patreon, links down below if that's your thing. Either way, see you in the next one.